Item number SCP-5868. Object Class Keter. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-5868 has currently been obtained from GOI 952 under a Foundation front. All former employees of SCP-5868 are to be retained. To facilitate containment, all employees are to work under the impression that SCP-5868 is still owned by GOI 952. Shifts are to ensure that SCP-5868 is manned at all times. Overtime, holiday bonuses, and other incentives may be used at the discretion of the head researcher. Employees of SCP-5868 are to be retained at all costs. D-Class may be used to replace deceased employees. D-Class who have formerly worked in the meatpacking industry are to be screened for this purpose. Employees of SCP-5868 will be directed to continue processing all instances of SCP-5868-2, regardless of appearance, hazards inherent, or any other status. Notable instances of SCP-5868-2 are to be delivered to and retained at Site-156 and catalogued before being incinerated. All other instances of SCP-5868-2 are to be incinerated on-site after being fully packaged. Employees of SCP-5868 are to wear Class C hazmat containment gear at all times when on SCP-5868 property. Employees charged with unloading SCP-5868-2 are to be instructed to not make contact with SCP-5868-1. All deliveries of SCP-5868-2 are to be unloaded without delay. SCP-5868 is to be supplied with no less than 10 backup generators. Under no circumstances should employees cease processing SCP-5868-2 instances. Packages may be reused after the SCP-5868-2 instances are incinerated. If a backup occurs, D-Class are to be brought in to help the processing of the additional SCP-5868-2 instances. If SCP-5868-2 instances are kept from being processed for longer than 6 hours, containment will no longer be necessary. Description: SCP-5868 is the only foods processing plant located in Rikers Valley, Maine. Records show that the anomaly started occurring on February 13, 2016 at 5:35 a.m. with the first delivery by SCP-5868-1. SCP-5868 was seized by the Foundation Front Preferred Options Holdings in a hostile takeover on April 27, 2016. SCP-5868 shows no other anomalous aspect apart from the deliveries of SCP-5868-2. Instances of SCP-5868-2 processed at a secondary location are sufficient to avoid increased deliveries from SCP-5868-1. SCP-5868-1 is a semi-trailer truck that manifests at the docking bay of SCP-5868 hourly. After idling for 55 minutes, SCP-5868-1 immediately demanifests. All instances of SCP-5868-2 remaining inside SCP-5868-1 during a demanifestation are left at the loading bay. Contact with SCP-5868-1 other than unloading SCP-5868-2 causes, which results in an unnecessary interruption in the containment procedures. The interior of SCP-5868-1 has been shown to be larger on the inside, housing a number of SCP-5868-2 instances that would prove impossible in a non-anomalous semi-trailer truck. SCP-5868-2 are cow carcasses. Instances of SCP-5868-2 are normally afflicted with rinderpest morbillivirus, bovine spongiform encephalopathy, and infectious pododermatitis. Variation among SCP-5868-2 instances exist, although all have been shown to be genetically identical to a cow. When an instance of SCP-5868-2 is not processed and packaged within an hour, the next load delivered by SCP-5868-1 is greater in number than the previous delivery. This buildup is theorized to be able to render Earth uninhabitable within 12 hours. However, recent models have shown that a 6-hour blockage would result in a backlog of SCP-5868-2 instances impossible to process within the time limit. Partial record of SCP-5868-2 variants. Date processed June 15, 2016 at 12:35 p.m. A single SCP-5868-2 instance that resembled a mouse. Of note is that this was the entirety of that hour's delivery. Date processed November 2nd, 2016 at 7:35 a.m. All 1,116 instances of SCP-5868-2 resembled the same adult human male. Of note is that the instances took the appearance of an employee of SCP-5868 who had, after attempting to open SCP-5868-1's driver's side door an hour earlier. Date processed March 22nd, 2017 at 8:35 p.m. All 857 instances of SCP-5868-2 were shown to be highly radioactive. Over 66 employees were subjected to dangerous levels of gamma radiation. 4 employees succumbed to fatal radiation poisoning. The remaining 62 employees were able to continue work at a reduced capacity. Date processed June 9, 2018 at 3:35 a.m. Delivery contained 2,693 instances of SCP-5868-2, much higher than the average. All instances, however, were fetal. Date processed October 18, 2018 at 11:35 a.m. All 1,451 instances of SCP-5868-2 had tongues and eyes made from wood. Analyses showed the wood to belong to an unknown species in the Pinaceae family. In some instances, the wooden eyes appeared to have been roughly shoved into what was an empty socket while the cow was still living. Date processed January 27, 2019 at 9:35 p.m. All 946 instances of SCP-5868-2 were contaminated with human fecal matter, in many cases filling all cavities. Testing revealed that the feces showed signs of a purely beef-based diet. DNA testing showed the feces to have been produced by the employee who had been on November 2, 2016. Date processed April 20, 2019 at 4:35 p.m. Each of the 1,097 instances of SCP-5868-2 were found to have 6 additional stomachs. Stomachs were found to be filled with an extremely acidic bile. 16 employees were injured, causing an unacceptable slowdown in processing. 1 employee was rendered unable to work following this batch. Date processed July 2, 2019 at 7:35 p.m. All 869 instances of SCP-5868-2 were found to be boneless. No other abnormalities were found. Date processed September 11, 2019 at 10:35 p.m. Delivery consisted of one living SCP-5868-2 instance. Employees were instructed to slaughter it with available tools. Instead of blood, beef-based gravy appeared to be flowing through the instance's veins, processed as normal. Date processed: March 4th, 2020, at 4:35 p.m. All 1,365 instances of SCP-5868-2 had tightly woven barbed wire in place of bones and organs. The barbed wire was shown to have severe rust damage. 13 of the instances also lacked a tongue. Date processed: July 19th, 2020, at 1:35 a.m. All 971 instances of SCP-5868-2 were inside out, with organs on the outside and skin on the inside. Instances were said to smell like freshly cut grass. Date processed: December 22nd, 2020, at 5:35 a.m. All 1,172 instances of SCP-5868-2 vocalized despite being clearly deceased. Vocalizations did not cease during or after processing. Vocalizations were described as a human attempting to sound like a cow. Interview with William Gartley. The following interview took place on November 4th, 2016, with William Gartley, shift manager of SCP-5868. During the interview, William Gartley was under the impression that it was a performance review given by a company adjudicator. No attempt was made to correct this. This is all great, Bill, but could you please answer my question about the first delivery? You mean the issue with, Bill, you gotta rest easy. You're not being held accountable for the unsafe actions of one of your employees. You're fine, it's fine. This is about the first delivery you can remember. I think you understand what I'm talking about here. I'm not sure. Tell me about the black truck, Bill. This isn't a request. Oh, you mean that truck? Yes, it's what we're here to talk about. Not your performance, not any workplace accidents. We want you to tell us everything you know about the truck. Is this a test? It's fine for you to tell me about all of it and how you feel about it. Just this once. It's for archival purposes. This won't be marked on your personal record. Okay? It just came one day. That's it. We didn't have any other deliveries. Corporate told us to accept it. Free meat. They didn't know what was causing it and told me not to worry about it. It was free meat. It came from nowhere. Miraculous, really. This was before you noticed there was something wrong with the carcasses, right? There's nothing wrong with the carcasses. It's okay, Bill. This isn't a trap. Just talk plainly with me. They knew the meat was wrong from the first, but corporate decided that using the meat would result in so much profit that the money used to settle suits would be a pittance. They didn't realize how bad they were? I'm no expert. It just made economical sense to use them. We had so many. And, well, we realized pretty quickly what happened when you didn't. Well, someone at corporate seemed to know. Do you remember the person who let you know about that? You know, that's funny, but no, honest. Not just saying that either. There were so many higher-ups calling about the truck and the meat and the things that, well, you know, the meat sometimes did. How long did they try to use the carcasses? It didn't take long. Even the leather gives you these horrible welts. There's some chemicals on them. I don't know. They're wrong. Does it ever seem futile to you? What do you mean? Just watching them pack the meat, watching them tan the flesh and crush the bones into feed, and then they burn it all. Does it seem futile? Things need to get done, no matter what. The rest of the interview contained no other information applicable to containment. William Gartley has remained the shift manager of SCP-5868. He has continued to be an exemplary employee.